Serving the most vulnerable children means preparing and developing them for their future. This is one of the world's greatest tasks. But today, in the poorest places, where families and communities are strained, fragile, many children are not receiving the crucial skills they need for their futures.
When we speak of caring for a child, we speak of more than feeding them for today. We speak of preparing them for the future, teaching them the skills they will need to build a healthy life for themselves and for their community. This is the teaching that should be done together, where schools, families, and communities come together, each one giving their part of what a child needs to develop into a healthy adult. But in many of our most vulnerable places, our children are not receiving the teaching, guidance, and support they need from their families and communities because there's so much brokenness. And because of this, our children are suffering, feeling so hopeless about their future. Many are pushing to fix this problem by just getting the children into schools. And today, we are so proud to say that nearly all our children in Hands at Work programs are in schools. That is good, but it is not enough.
Overcrowded classrooms, a lack of resources, make it very hard for children to learn even the most fundamental skills at school. This particularly affects the most vulnerable, who have suffered painful trauma and carry heavy responsibilities at home.
Jeffrey was born in Mozambique. His father left the family, and Jeffrey lived with his older sister, his mother, and his elderly grandmother. The family struggled to survive. And while he was still a baby, Jeffrey's mother left them to cross into neighboring South Africa as an economic refugee searching for work. He did not see her again for years. Jeffrey's grandmother struggled to care for the family. When he was old enough to attend school, Jeffrey was also finally old enough to take up the job of cattle herding for a neighbor. He attended class when he could. At home, his grandmother's health became worse. Often, they all went to bed hungry. Jeffrey felt alone, and as he grew, his mind was occupied with fear. At 12 and in grade 6, Jeffrey still couldn't read or write, and the small jobs around the area couldn't sustain the family. It was agreed Jeffrey would cross the border to live with his mother in the South African community of Somerset. Life in South Africa for undocumented foreigners was not easier. Jeffrey often found food only by walking to the neighbors and asking for help. One of those neighbors, Teresa, was part of the Hands at Work care worker team from local churches in Somerset. These care workers were trained to seek out the community's most vulnerable families, building personal relationship with them to bring the healing and hope of Christ into their lives. Teresa took responsibility for Jeffrey and his family. She visited them at their home, and over time she built up the family's trust. And she brought him to the Care Point, a safe place in the community for vulnerable families where children could eat, do homework, and play. The care workers celebrated when their advocacy at the local school got Jeffrey admitted into grade 5 despite his undocumented status. But that victory was short-lived, as it soon became clear that at 13 years old, Jeffrey's foundation of education was almost non-existent. He was now at the Care Point every day getting a hot meal, meeting and interacting with other children. Through regular Bible study and the treatment of the care workers, he was learning that God saw him and that he knew him, and that he was loved and that he belonged. His mother was also joining a support program at the Care Point, starting her own healing journey and being trained and equipped to do gardening and small-scale vegetable farming. But classroom learning had dissolved for Jeffrey, who was losing hope for a future life better than he had known. And by the time the COVID-19 pandemic shuttered schools in 2020, he had already stopped going to class.
We know our children can grow up to be healthy adults who love the Lord and can provide for themselves and for their families and can make a positive impact in their communities. Imagine what an impact our children can make as they grow up healed of such a past of brokenness and start to model a new way in their community. That is our dream for them. But it is demanding a change in the way we think about education and learning.
In the lowest income economies, there's little opportunity for formal jobs. And to survive, children need skills for informal work, life skills like problem solving, planning, and communication. But without home environments that can teach this, the most vulnerable children are left unequipped. Hands at Work's goal is to make sure these children are not left behind. It begins with mobilizing men and women from the local church to take personal responsibility for these children in their own community, showing they are not forgotten and they do have a purpose.
Jeffrey has been discovering his purpose and his place at the Hands at Work Care Point. He's been discipled and mentored by the care workers and local church leaders. At 17, he is known and looked up to by many of the younger children at the care point. He sees many peers who've also left school now as a result of COVID-19 and have fallen into trouble with substances and crime. But he knows that his choices matter to more than himself. He has a chance to be a role model to children around him. So he has chosen instead to be at the care point helping each day. And he has become part of a group of other youth working and learning alongside Hands at Work mentors, being trained in basic construction skills. As they tackle projects together, like repairing local houses, they are learning crucial lessons in teamwork, project management, and trades. Recently, when electricity was knocked out at the care point, Jeffrey surprised everyone by stepping in with his new skills to restore the power and light. It was an opportunity to give back to the place that has given him so much, a small but real sign that his future is growing more hopeful.
Hands at Work is identifying these children like Jeffrey in communities throughout Africa where they are being left behind and implementing the model of local churches, care worker teams, and care points to bring love and hope in Jesus' name and to restore the dream of a healthy, abundant future. Join us in expanding the reach of Hands at Work's model throughout Africa.
www.handsatwork.org